Next in line, we've got Adam McBride, who's the co-founder of Defensor Limited. Adam, would you like to come and join me up on stage, please? Thank you. Round of applause for Adam, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Last summer, I was in my home enjoying a nice movie. And it was getting to the really exciting part, right? I think we could all have that moment where it's building up in suspense and we really get into it. And all of a sudden, it just stopped working. And at first I thought to myself, you know, because sometimes I'm late on paying bills, I use Mint. And I thought, man, I must not pay my internet, right? That's like my first assumption. And then I tried replaying it again, and it wasn't working. And I was thinking, why is it not working? And I kept on having this problem over and over again, and I started to get really frustrated and upset, right? Because in this very meaningless moment, I was upset I didn't have my movie. And it goes to find out that throughout the whole entire US East Coast, it was attacked from a DDoS attack, right? And it was Netflix and these other users, Spotify and everybody else. And I started to realize, you know, how do these attacks happen? So I did some research on it, and part of the attacks were something that was very, very simple. They were using computers, but also in there, they were using printers, and they were also using DVRs. And I'm like, how do you launch these attacks with these smart devices, right? I mean, you're getting these smart devices that can throw out these attacks, and then on the back end, you're supposed to have these amazing servers that are supposed to handle all these attacks, and it failed. And so I was talking to one of my friends of mine, and we started talking about it more, and we thought, you know, is there something that we can do to solve this, right? And so part of our focus is creating the world's first blockchain and decentralized computing platform for the security industry. So with these DDoS attacks, they're pretty simple, right? So as you know, you have a lot of nodes, computers. Even now, we have smart devices, printers, DVRs, and they'll attack somebody. So if you're having a great business, a competitor might pay somebody, and it's pretty simple, right? You have $10,000, you go pay somebody, and you say, hey, this is my competitor's website, and they launch an attack. Or it might be a government organization or anybody else, and they want to attack another government organization. And then the servers, of course, they get flooded, they can't handle the attacks, router tables, et cetera. They start to fail, and it just shuts down for the end user. And so these DDoS attacks actually have a very, very huge cost, right? So, I mean, they say like on average with these big ones, like $500,000 are lost per attack. And sometimes, as you saw when we saw this attack on the US coast, they last for many hours. On average, they last for about 6 hours, right? And we see this starting to grow. The reason why these things are starting to grow is because they're so easy. Anybody can do it. If you have enough money, you just go pay somebody, and they launch these attacks, right? You get these slave devices, and they just go attack. That's it. You don't need anything else. So they start to grow more and more in popularity. I mean, this is an ongoing problem that we're starting to see, right? And the costs are rising more and more. And so we see for us, right, like through the last year, we were almost at like $1 trillion in this security industry right here, and we see that it's growing more and more. And in fact, when you look at people like, for instance, the U.S. government, right? I mean, they just said they're doing a $700 billion bill based on blockchain technology for these type of things. So they're starting to see there's a lot of interest in this. And when you look at the market size, right, we see two different markets, right? We see the network security, and we also see things that are happening on the blockchain. So it's not just no longer like we're seeing these private industries or government industries. We're also seeing like blockchain exchanges and different people getting attacked in many different ways. I just listed one way, right? The one way that I listed was just DDoS. And as you know, they're being attacked by many other things, right? So we talk about identity authentication, wallets getting stolen, et cetera. So there is an ongoing problem that we're starting to see. And there's actually a lot of good people in this space right now trying to solve it. And we see some amazing things starting to happen. We see different people trying to create things on the blockchain for DDoS, other people trying to create things for handling user authentication. And we think these are amazing companies that are beginning to do that. But going back to my story, right, when this happened, I was talking with one of my friends, And I said, this is really annoying. Like, this is a really annoying thing. Is there anything that can be done about this? And they're like, well, it's just really like a numbers game, right? Like, you have these 20,000 or 1 million devices over here, and you just need something, in the interim to kind of brute force and handle the attacks while they're happening. And of course, it's a tad bit more complex than that, but it's a pretty simple concept, right? I mean, you have brute force over here, you have to fight it with brute force. And so, they had a company, and so they're a hardware company. They've launched hardware all throughout the world, as you see. Today, there's over 43 million active devices right now with users using their hardware and their software today. And they said, hey, we have all these users, right? Like, I was like, so we started thinking, well, what if we put these users to work? What if they were getting paid to do what these large corporations are doing, right? Like, if somebody can launch a DDoS attack with a smart device, with a DVR, or with a printer, how can we help? So we're like, people have home consumer devices. What if they put them to work, right? So as you see right now, some of these blockchain technologies are kind of doing that. So we see some DDoS companies, and they say, hey, download our software. Your idle time with your computer, you can use that, right? And you can use that. And we said, well, that's pretty cool. That's a good idea. But for that concept to work, you're going to have a lot of people download your software. And your computers happen to be always on, right? It takes up a lot of resources, right? A lot of electricity for a computer. And to be honest with you, these attacks happen during the day, right? So when you're busy at work using your computer, that's when the attacks are happening. So your computer's not even idle in the first place, usually when you want to get paid on this stuff. So we thought, what if we do this with consumer devices when they're idle, right? So you go to work during the day. These consumer devices are left at your house, right? The devices that you watch Netflix on, Hulu, whatever you're going to watch. You watch it at night, but during the day, they just sit there idle. Nobody's using anything. And so we thought, can we use these devices for this type of stuff, for network security, right? So instead of somebody employing these large servers and paying a lot of money, as they do today, what if we can disperse that across many different devices spread all throughout the country, right? So Europe, China, Africa, wherever. Can we spread this out to help handle these type of attacks, to spread out this network security? And so that's kind of where this idea was born. We said, yeah, we think we can, right? We can decentralize this computing power, and we can put it in a way where we can open this up and lower the cost to people protecting themselves. So that's when we created this thing called Defensor chain. And it's a pretty simple concept, as you see, right? We had the companies up top that sometimes provide the services. You as an individual, you will own a device. And what happens is you get paid in DEF coins for protecting individuals with idle bandwidth that you're not even using in the first place. You're not using the CPU power. You're not using the RAM. You're not using your broadband internet when you're gone. So why not put it to work? So that's exactly what this concept addresses right there. As you see, part of the concept that we're looking at, too, is not just for the software, right? What we do also well is hardware. So it's launching new hardware, expanding the network, so people can use the hardware not just for watching TV or anything else like that. They can use it to make money when it's just sitting there idle. So this kind of gives a very simple concept of it, right? So as you see, there's many attacks or different things that will happen. You have things outside of DDoS, user authentication. You have behavior tracking, and you have other safety products such as data protection, et cetera. So as you see, there's kind of a chain going around there, right? So you have the blockchain, you have the internet right there. So kind of our vision is using these smart devices to help protect you as an individual. So right here, we kind of talk about what is the framework of it. So how we imagine this framework is from a very simple concept. And again, this concept altogether, when you think about it, is actually a pretty simple concept, right? When these attacks happen, sometimes these attacks are very simple, and sometimes these attacks are very complex. So when we're first doing this, right, we're going after the simplest things that cause the most amount of damage. So when we look at it, we have the main chain right here, right? And that's where the main chain interacts with dApps. So we work with creators who are providers for DDoS. They provide services to other people. They go ahead and they create the dApp, and they call our APIs, which then called the node network. And from there, it goes and talks with the main chain, and then we have different side chains for these different type of things. So as you see at the very top, we have the network defense, identity authentication, data protection, and information verification. And of course, we have a side chain that can be customized. And so by doing this, what happens is we can create different chains, different side chains, depending upon what type of security we're providing. So if it needs to be a proof of work, or if it needs to be a proof of stake, right, we can adapt a chain based upon what needs to happen. That way, we are creating a main chain for the blockchain to handle all these requests, handle the disbursements of the nodes, the smart contracts, et cetera, to handle that and these side chains. So I wanted to shorten down the presentation. So what I did was we just created a short video to kind of talk about it a little bit more, and that way you guys can kind of get a sense of it. Again, it's myself doing the voiceover, so I apologize if the microphone's not the best, but again, we want to try to animate it a little bit more so you guys can understand what we're doing. And let's see if that makes it go.
Today, with the rapid development of the global internet, the network hacking dominated by the DDoS attacks is increasingly rampant, which has caused huge economic losses to governments and enterprises. Network security defense has also become an important security investment, but DDoS, easy attacking and difficult to defend, and high defense costs remains an industry pain point that has not been resolved. Defensor team has developed the world's first distributed defense technology architecture and insurance economy model network security products on the basis of blockchain technology. Compared with the traditional shield defense structure with high costs, Defensor cost is lower. Each Defensor node can be made up of a variety of intelligent devices. The idle bandwidth can be used to save the cost of server and bandwidth. The existing 20 million plus users can be converted into Def Platform Defensor to build powerful grid systems. It has the same effect as the traditional shield defense. Defensor are not free to contribute. They will contribute their own node resource to protect while they obtain the Def token reward under the smart contract based on their contributions. The stronger the ability of Defensor is, the higher the credibility in return will be, in addition to buying Def tokens to enjoy defensive services. The company will also provide insurance services on demand. Depending on the needs of different customers, the contract period of the enterprise is not attacked and can earn interest. Defensor, using blockchain technology to gather massive defense nodes to create a global network security platform.
All right, everybody, I wanted to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Again, we're over there in the hall. If you want to learn more about us, just come see us. Thank you.
Excellent. Round of applause, please, for Adam. Thank you so much. Good job on that voiceover.